please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets with glare, the bombs bursting in air, can prove through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does the star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please be seated.
Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory once spoke about the importance of humility in leadership in the spirit of Moses. He challenged our assumption that humility is about meekness or shrinking from things. In fact, he argued it is the ultimate opening up of ourselves to the world. He said, quote, "Humility is a form of perception, a language in which the I is silent so that I can hear the thou, the unspoken call beneath human speech, the divine whisper within all that moves, the voice of otherness that calls me to redeem its loneliness with a touch of love. Humility is what opens us to the world. Humility never fails to leave us its afterglow. We know when we have been in the presence of someone in whom the divine presence breathes. We feel affirmed, enlarged, and with good reason. For we have met someone who, not taking himself or herself seriously at all, has shown us what it is to take with utmost seriousness that which is not I." And so in that spirit we pray. El Rachum v'Chanun, God of mercy, God of grace. Let these leaders feel the divine presence within that calls them to be curious about those whom they serve, to know others with an open heart, to listen with an open mind, to know souls well enough that they become compass and map for their leadership. Allow them, O Lord, to find you through the hearts of all whom they serve. Amen.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for bearing with us as we try to have a wonderful ceremony tonight in light of COVID. And we welcome you all here tonight. Thank you so much, Rabbi Brousseau, for that meaningful invocation. Somehow you always know just the right sentiment for every occasion. And thank you to our Boy Scout Chappaqua Troop 2 for leading our Pledge of Allegiance, and to Barbara Howe, a Horace Greeley Senior, for your beautiful rendition of our national anthem. By the way, I am Lisa Katz, and it is a great privilege to welcome all of you to tonight's inauguration ceremony for our new town board members, Tara Castle, Christian Hildenbrand, and Victoria Bayard-Tipp, as well as for Noah Sorkin, who was reelected as our town justice, Vedat Gashi, who was reelected as our county legislator, and, well, for me, who was elected as your town supervisor. I also want to welcome some of the distinguished guests who have taken time out of their busy schedules to join us here tonight. We are particularly delighted to welcome President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton, who have graciously agreed to preside over tonight's ceremony and to inaugurate our town officials. You have made this evening very, very special, and thank you so much. A warm welcome also to State Senator Peter Harcum, State Assemblyman Chris Burdick, who is here with us in mind, if not body, County Executive George Latimer, and Town Council Member Jeremy Saland. I'm also happy to recognize Captain Kate Clow of the Chappaqua Volunteer Ambulance Corps, Lieutenant John Doyle of the Millwood Fire Company, and Officer Matthew Rosa of the Newcastle Police Department, who comprise our color guard this evening. We also have us tonight Sergeant Frank Rotko and certain core members of town staff who tirelessly help us turn the thoughts and dreams of our wonderful town into a living reality. I thank all of you. I would particularly like to thank Jill Shapiro, our town administrator, and Carrie Krams of the Newcastle Community Media Center for their unending work for our town board and for all citizens of Newcastle every day and for organizing tonight's events. I wish we were able to have our community members who I know are watching tonight's festivities via Zoom here tonight, but I want to assure you that all of us tonight feel your collective spirits, and we thank you for your support. Now, this may be a familiar position for Judge Sorkin and Legislator Gashi, given their tenure as elected officials, so I wanted to direct a few choice words to our newest town board members. I remember being in your position 8 years ago at my first inauguration, feeling a mix of humility, pride, and excitement. I am sure that you are feeling the same pride and joy tonight as I did then. Serving our community is a great privilege, and the ability to speak for our residents is truly a great trust. Tonight begins an incredible opportunity to unify our community, for at the end of the day, we all aspire to the same, a stronger, more vibrant, and united community who take pride in calling Newcastle home. And we can do this together through hard work, collaboration, and mutual respect. And now I would like to welcome some of our treasured community members who have volunteered to say a few words for us tonight. Robert Kirkwood, Larry Liu, and Ali Kemtab. I would ask that you want to come up in the order I just introduced you. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. I must say that when you were waving over at Rabbi and looking to me for the invocation, my heart dropped, and I thought this was going to be a very, very long evening, for me anyway. In any event, welcome everyone, and it's so good to see you all. I was sort of nonplussed when Lisa first asked me to come and make a couple of brief comments, and I was very happy to say yes. And then later on, she called me back and said, by the way, very brief. Understanding my proclivity to run the planning board, which takes months to do anything, I think she was a little bit concerned that it would be longer than usual. But in any event, I counted up today. Lisa will be my 9th supervisor that I have worked with since I've been here in my role in the planning board. And I think it's a testimony to our town, the way we operate in this town, the transparency that we operate in this town, and I think the level of discussion that we have in our town. So I'm very, very big on the American experiment, and I think all of us here should be proud in participating in that ongoing experiment. This is where it all meets the road here. At the local level, participating for candidates going out and being exposed to all kinds of different things and issues, I think is terrific. But this is what this experiment is. I often talk at the planning board about long coefficients, how we have all these different variables that come in, and then we want to weigh all these to come up with the right solution. We are unified in our goals. We are not necessarily in the same voice. We have different voices, different ideas, different concepts, different backgrounds. But in the end, when we work with the same exact goals, the same unifying goals, we, again, prosper here in this town, as a state, in this country. So congratulations to the candidates. We wish you well. I know you're going to have some good leadership with Lisa, and we look forward to working with you. My 9th supervisor, and I haven't counted all the council members yet. Very good. Thank you very much.
Robert is such a polished speaker. I will try my best by reading a script. Well, it's supposed to be a joke. Anyway, good evening, everyone. It is an honor to be invited to speak. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, the new town board. I find it important to be here to celebrate unity. When America is increasingly polarized, we must speak up and hold the center. It starts with the local government. This moment is glorious because residents of different backgrounds come together for something bigger than themselves. It is only possible because the previous town board showed grace and humility during transition. The new town board brings a new beginning with its commitment to unite Newcastle, but it's not going to be easy. I'm an immigrant from China and a naturalized American citizen. Many minority immigrant families find a home in this beautiful Newcastle. I became a new community organizer because we do not feel visible enough. We're not people who lack personalities. We are people who have unique life experiences. We are people who love, who regret, and who desire, just like any person in America. Our concern will never be the only concerns. There will be competing ones. We hope the new town board will do a few basic things well to unite Newcastle's diverse residents with different visions. First is the 14th Amendment. It says, no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. It is true regardless of our race or national origin. Second is the First Amendment. We must provide a safe space for robust public discourse on policies. People most likely to be silenced are those who do not have access to power, like us. Lisa, Vicky, Chris, Jeremy somewhere, very important, and Tara, be our superheroes of the time. Lead from the center, find balanced solutions, and bring people together. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Lisa, and the Unite Newcastle team for asking me here tonight. It's a privilege. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Allie Shemtab. My husband and I are 6-year Chappaqua residents with 2 children currently attending West Orchard Elementary and our 3rd in preschool. During the last few years, I found myself very fatigued by national politics, and in turn, politics in general. Too much partisanship and discord. I'm sure many of us felt that way. But as I learned more about the issues affecting the future of our hamlet, and I learned more about the Unite Newcastle team, I understood more than ever why local politics mattered. It was an important lesson for me to learn. And that was always the message from the Unite Newcastle team that resonated the most with me, that local politics mattered. I encouraged many of the younger and new to Chappaqua families to start paying attention. This election wasn't about advancing political careers or pushing an agenda or ego. For this team, several of them reluctant politicians, and for many of us that voted for them, it was about putting aside our bigger differences and finding common ground. What better reason to unify a community than our shared love of it? Unite Newcastle understands we do not need to make Chappaqua something it's not, that together we can improve upon what it already is. These days, it seems as though most people take a talk more, listen less approach. I believe what will serve the Unite Newcastle team well is their desire to work through ideological differences and to listen to their constituents without judgment. Henry Ford once said, "Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success." Unite Newcastle is tasked with serving our community, and I believe as long as that principle guides them, we will be in good hands and they will be a success. Thank you.
Greetings from Albany. This is Assemblymember Chris Burdick. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to be here in person, but I'm grateful for this opportunity to be a part of this ceremony from Albany. I give my very best to everyone present, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome into office Supervisor Lisa Katz and new town board members Victoria Tipp, Christian Hildenbrand, and Tara Castle. Newcastle is a wonderful town, truly a gem here in Westchester County. And I know that they are totally committed to bringing Newcastle together and working in a collaborative and collegial manner with everyone in town. I also want you to know that I want you to succeed in your work. And I pledge that my office and I will be here to help any way that we can. We all know that there's much work to be done, and I very much look forward to working with the entire town board in 2022. So congratulations.
When I was first asked to introduce George Latimer, our county executive, I was a little anxious and nervous. George is a great storyteller who speaks with ease from the heart, but our county executive is much, much more than that. He may captivate you with his words, but he will keep you listening and involved with his leadership. Although COVID is still in front of us, George, along with his deputy, Ken Jenkins, and their great team, personified reason and calm leadership during the most harrowing days of the pandemic. Making sure the county center was available, working with the county and state Department of Health, and most recently securing masks and test kits, not just for Newcastle, but throughout the county. I don't have the time to sit here and share all of the great things that George Latimer has done, and just moments ago he said he didn't want to hear that. So I won't do that and go there, but I will say that when all the mayors and supervisors and one acting supervisor, and Bob, I don't know if I count in that 9, we're on one of our countless conference calls during the pandemic, and just like we were during one of these weather events, we all knew that we could look to George and that we were in this together. But there's also one even more important thing about George, is that when we looked to him, we knew we would get out of this together. And this county and this town is extremely grateful for that. I won't go through all the hats George has worn in local, state, and county politics, but he certainly is one of the people that we would aspire to be if we want to get involved in public service. And I know I speak from the heart and myself, and I would as well. Accessible, honest, someone who has compassion, absolutely. George, thank you for your friendship, not just to me, but to this town and this county. And I know I speak on behalf of the new town board that we look forward to working with you. It's an honor to introduce you.
Thank you very much, Jeremy, and Happy New Year to all who are here today.
George, let's grab this. Go to one of our fowls.
You got it. I'm very honored to be with you today for this wonderful ceremony. And on behalf of the county government, including Vedat Gashi, who is here tonight, we want to extend to Lisa Katz, as the new supervisor and the new members of the team, our complete support in county government. We will be there alongside you as you tackle the problems that you have. We'll disappear when we need to disappear. But we want you to know that Newcastle will have friends in White Plains, and we look forward to working with you on the challenges as you see them in your community. Congratulations on your election, and congratulations on your service. Lisa has served on the town board already. I also want to credit Jeremy Saland, who was kind enough to introduce me for his work. I served with Jeremy's dad in the state legislature, and his dad was Republican. I'm a Democrat, and I stood in great awe of his dad and the service that he gave in the state legislature, and the apple didn't fall far from the tree, Jeremy. Congratulations. Your dad is no doubt as proud of you as we all are. So thank you all. A terrific community that you have here. I have the great opportunity to introduce a neighbor, someone that we know because we will see them around the community of Chappaqua, but also one of the two guests that we have here tonight who are nothing short of American historical figures. And when Jeremy was praising me, I thought to myself, we're in the room with a president and a secretary of state, which kind of reduces whatever we've done in county government down to kind of a small size. You know, I play pickup baseball, and here's Willie Mays in my presence, you know, the greatest that ever played the game. But it's my opportunity to introduce Secretary Clinton, who is going to take on the next responsibilities. She was born and raised in Illinois. She had her years of advanced study, college and law school in Massachusetts and in Connecticut. And of course, for many years with her husband, President Clinton, when he was Attorney General and Governor of Arkansas, in Arkansas. I had a chance to see the governor's mansion when I was in Little Rock a number of years ago, and when I saw the Clinton Library, very impressive. She also had responsibilities in the District of Columbia as a staffer, and then years later as our United States Senator. Of all those places that she has lived, she's traveled the world as Secretary of State: Beijing, Moscow, Tokyo, Paris, London, Buenos Aires, every possible place that we think of, that we might have on a bucket list to see. She has been there as the representative at the highest level of the United States government. And that is an impressive record. And with all of that, from Illinois to Massachusetts, Connecticut, Arkansas, D.C., around the world, she and the president have chosen to live in Chappaqua, to live in the community that all of you have made your home. That's a statement about Chappaqua, but it's also a statement about the Secretary and the President, that they are the type of people who, having been everywhere, lived in the White House and the governor's mansion, that they would make this very special town their home, and to be as active a citizen, not clustered away, but here at one of the most important public local events, the swearing in of local elected officials. So we're grateful to their leadership on the national scene. I get pride every time I open a book and I see their names as figures in American history that I've even had a chance to meet them, much less to have gotten to know them a little bit. And we're very honored for this purposes to have with us tonight, for the purposes of helping the swearing-in process, our Secretary of State in our hearts, and I was very proud of her when she was our United States Senator, the Honorable Hillary Rodham Clinton. Madam Secretary.
Well, thank you so much, George, and thanks for your wonderful leadership of the county. It is such a delight for Bill and me to be here. And Lisa, I couldn't help but think how appropriate it is that we are swearing you in as town supervisor in this Performing Arts Center that was so much a part of your service. It was really a labor of love. And I'm thrilled that despite COVID and the cold weather and everything else, we can gather tonight to do what George rightly said is an important part of the joy and responsibility of living in a local community, and that is to support our local government and do what we can as citizens to make our community the best it can be. I particularly want to thank Robert and Larry and Allie for their remarks, because I think it was such an added element to the ceremony tonight to hear from three residents who are now active citizens of Newcastle. So thank you for being part of it. To everyone gathered, I wish that you were not all in virtual presence as you are, but could be with us for this in this beautiful Performing Arts Center. But we are delighted to be having this chance to gather in person to swear in these elected officials. And I have the great delight to be able to swear in several. And I want to thank all of you for being part of it. I think that what we will do is have you come up individually, and as I understand it, Lisa, we're going to swear people in, and then they're going to make a statement. Is that right? Okay. And do you want them to make the statement from there, or do you want them to make the statement from here? I don't know what that microphone is for, and I just want to be sure I'm...
So that microphone is for them to take the oath of office so they can take off their mask.
Okay.
And do that and be 6 feet away.
And then I'll step away and they can make a statement from here? Okay, great. So we're going to start with the Westchester County Legislator, Vedat Gashi. Will you come join us, please? And this is not new to you, but it's wonderful that you are here and part of this. So would you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Vedat Gashi,
I, Vedat Gashi,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support
the
Constitution of the United States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
the
duties of Westchester County Legislator according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. If I seem a little nervous, it's because I am. It's an incredible honor. Thank you again. An honor made more humbling through the presence and participation of President Clinton and Secretary Clinton. Many of you will know that I was born in Kosovo, immigrating to the United States as a child. But some of you may not know how respected and revered the Clintons are among the Kosovar people. They recognize the role that the Clintons played in liberating Kosovars from ethnic cleansing. And they will never forget it. People like me and my family, and we will never forget it. The respect is deep. My wife's family has a small shop in the capital of Kosovo, Pristina. That shop sits on Bill Clinton Boulevard. And across from their shop is a statue of Bill Clinton waving at you, and it's fantastic. Not 50 yards away sits another shop, and this one is named just Hillary. All capital letters, and of course Hillary is not an Albanian name, so they meant the Secretary of State. Yeah, and I, of course, share in that admiration. And in fact, my first political job, the secretary may not be aware of it, but I was a volunteer, an intern on Secretary Clinton's first run, the 2000 New York Senate campaign in the Westchester office. I'm still amazed that I was just sworn in by the secretary, and that's a great honor. This is now my second term, and throughout my first term, people told me what a shame it was that I had to serve during this COVID pandemic and how terrible that was, and I always disagreed. This is a time when we needed government, where the work we did was important and it impacted people's lives directly, and I was honored to do it. Thank you all again for respecting me, or giving me that responsibility, and again for doing it, because obviously we're still in the middle of this pandemic. But I know that we will together be able to get through it. And moreover, we won't allow it to stand in the way of our priorities otherwise. We won't let it stand in the way of our commitment to families, our environment, our economy. And I'm excited to be tackling these issues. In the coming term, I was asked to serve as the chair of Budget and Appropriations for the Board of Legislators. And it's a tremendous honor. It's a huge and intimidating responsibility. But I'm a little bit heartened, or a lot heartened, I should say, that I don't undertake it alone, that I do so with my colleagues on the board, under the leadership of our fantastic county executive, George Latimer, with our partners in federal, state, and local government, including, of course, the formidable and impressive representatives from the town of Newcastle, led by Supervisor Katz. I know that we can achieve these goals together. I think the highlight of the past year for me, and this is a small detour, but the highlight for me was about a month before the election. I got an email from my daughter's teacher. Hannah is 8 years old and can be precocious, so I was a little worried. But I opened the email, and it was great. It was a wonderful note that she had written to me and my wife. She had said that there was a new kid in class, and this new student didn't speak a word of English, and that Hannah had befriended her from the very beginning, through lunch, sitting with her in lunch, to the end of the day. And by the end of the day, they even had matching friendship bracelets that said amiga. So I thought that was great. And of course, I'm a politician, so I wanted to take credit. And I told them, and it's true, that I tell my kids, first day of school and throughout, that when you get to school, you find somebody who's having a hard time, and you help them. Those are the values we instill. This is why we get into politics, I think. But more than that, those are the values we hope to foster. And that's what I said. My daughter overheard me, and she said, that had nothing to do with that. Nothing, not at all. And I said, well, what was it? And she said, I remember the stories you told me of when you were in the first grade, and you didn't speak a word of English, and how scared and intimidated you were by that. And it's funny, I've told this story obviously before, but it still gets me choked up. It's the idea that my daughter would help someone in a way that I needed that help was tremendously moving. And it made me feel like that we're doing something right, but also that there's hope for our endeavors going forward. And also it reminds me that I'm only here through the help of a whole lot of people. And I want to say thank you to all those people, including the people in this room. It was only through the help of so many that we could, I think, tackle these monumental tasks. And I know that we're still going to need that help. So I appreciate you all for the help that you've given me to this point, and that I hope that you'll give me going forward. I want to recognize my mother. Say hi, Mom. Thank you, Mom. My wife, Yosa, and my kids, Deka and Hannah. Thank you to my team, Dylan, Nuha, Iris, and so many volunteers. Thank you to my friends in labor, our partners in government throughout, and again, to President and Secretary Clinton. Thank you sincerely. for making this special event even more memorable. It's a tremendous honor. I'm incredibly humbled and honored, and I understand that serving this community is a solemn responsibility. I promise not to take it lightly, and I promise not to let you down. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for those really moving words, Vedant, and it's wonderful, wonderful to see you being sworn in as a public servant in this country after what you and your family and your community went through. Thank you so much. Noah Sorkin. Noah is also a familiar person in Newcastle, the town justice, where he has served for a number of years. We thank you again for your continuing service. So are you ready, Noah, to take the oath? Please repeat after me. I, Noah D. Sorkin,
I, Noah D. Sorkin,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of town justice
the duties of town justice
of the town of Newcastle
of the town of Newcastle
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Secretary Clinton, President Clinton, gathered officials, family, and friends, it is an honor and a privilege beyond description to be able to enter into my 11th year as a judge on our local bench. Beyond the thrill that I feel, though, I am so happy to be able to report that working alongside my partner on the bench, Judge Doug Krause, our court continues to be a place where every litigant, every defendant is treated with dignity and respect, and the rule of law consistently applied. I want to acknowledge the court staff that so ably handles all the administrative work of the court, moves things along in an efficient and economical way so that the judges can concentrate on their cases. Diane DeCerbo, Kathy Burns, Diana Califeri are just terrific. And as I say, they support everything that the judges do. I want to congratulate Supervisor Katz, Legislator Gashi, the newly appointed town board members. I wish you nothing but the best of success and luck in the days ahead. And again, thank you to all the officials for being here. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Town Justice, and thank you for reminding us that the rule of law starts in small towns like this, and for your incredible commitment to it. It is such a delight to now swear in the Deputy Town Supervisor, not at all a stranger to public service here in Newcastle, having served on the school board, and we're so grateful that you continue that service. So are you ready?
I am ready.
Please repeat after me. I, Victoria Bayard Tip,
I, Victoria Bayard Tip,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of Deputy Town Supervisor
the duties of Deputy Town Supervisor
and Council Member
and Council Member
of the Town of Newcastle
of the Town of Newcastle
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here tonight, our family, friends, and neighbors, in person and on Zoom. I want to extend a huge thank you to President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton for being here in person with us tonight during such challenging times. We really owe you a debt of gratitude for this very, very special night. And I am so honored to have had my oath administered by you. And I'm so very honored also to represent the town of Newcastle. I want to first and foremost thank my family, my husband Robert, my children Simon, Zoe and their partner Tomek, Devin and Maurice. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your love and support. I note that there are 2 people already in this small town at this event who are immigrants to this country. So for those of you who don't know, I'm also an immigrant to this country. I immigrated with my family from Haiti when I was a year old. And it's a country that's had many challenges regarding democracy and the democratic process. And so democracy means a whole lot to me because of my history and background. So along those lines, we had a very spirited campaign here in Newcastle. We had the first Democratic primary ever, which everyone was quite shocked by. And we have a community of very engaged, passionate, and outspoken people who are not shy about stating their opinions very clearly. And the ability to freely voice your opinions and thoughts is so important to a vibrant democracy. So this nation has seen a lot of harmful divisiveness in the larger political landscape. But let's remember that we're a nation made up of towns just like ours, and cities and villages. And I have a lot of hope and optimism that we can do our part in our small town to set an example of a community that comes together after a robust campaign to support one another and commit to building a town that we love together. So we can do our part to be a model for healing divisions that we've seen on a national level. This is a great community of caring neighbors, people who at a moment's notice can put meals together for family experiencing hardship, even though they don't know them at all. It's a community where people commit hundreds of hours of volunteer work to keep programs going, where people reschedule their busy lives to pick up a neighbor's child. So I know we can do wonderful things together. We have ambitious goals. We're determined to bring progress and revitalization to our town, to create conditions to promote a vibrant, diverse, multi-generational community, while retaining control over development and our environment. We want to preserve the natural beauty and open spaces of our parks, woodlands, and sanctuaries, create a sense of unity between our hamlets, support initiatives to address climate change, and so much more that there's no time to talk about tonight. So we can accomplish a great deal through leadership that is not about the I. If we focus on leadership that's about setting conditions for our group to achieve our goals by empowering others and fostering a climate of inclusion and collaboration. So I value a strong democracy and representative, responsive governance. And as I've said before, I commit to always being open to learning, to encouraging a diversity of voices, engaging in respectful conversations, being equity-focused, and building trust and a positive social climate. So we have a lot of work to do, and I'm excited to get going. Thank you, everyone, again, for being here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you all around town and to hearing your ideas for what we can do to improve our lives here in Newcastle. Thank you so much.
So it's my opportunity to introduce another friend of Newcastle and a personal friend as well. Peter Harcum, our state senator, has been a friend of Newcastle since day one. We're lucky and fortunate that he is our representative in Albany. And for those of you who don't know, one might say that Peter Harcum is also already a member of our Park and Recreation Commission. He is responsible single-handedly through SAM grants to fix 2 of our parks. One, bringing lights, refurbishing Millwood Park, Amsterdam as well, to make that a reality. So he, and I don't know how good of a pitcher or soccer player you are, but we're grateful as a community that you were able to put that together. But as grateful and happy we are that the dollars he generated for us are available, that, relatively speaking, is fungible, meaning that, yes, it's important, it's critical, it can be found in many places, but what's not fungible and what's critical is your leadership and your ability to communicate and be available for our community. And I know that you have been so during my time. I'm sure you will be for Lisa and the current town board, and just as you were in prior boards before then. There's another thing you may not know about Senator Harcum, and there's not going to be a test, but he actually drafted and passed 16 bills this past term. Is that correct? And one of those bills, to Vicky's point about being environmental stewards and paying attention to the environment, is the passage of legislation that was signed, I'm not sure if it was by Governor Cuomo or Hochul, I don't recall, but that we would have electric vehicles in totality, for lack of a better term, by 2035, sold in the state of New York. So that's really remarkable, his efforts. We're very fortunate to have a lot of great leaders here, and I think George admonished me for not praising too much our county and state representatives. But thank you very much, Pete. Thank you for joining us. You are a friend of Newcastle. We're excited that you could be a part of tonight.
Jeremy, thank you so much for those very kind words. And I did used to coach soccer, girls soccer, for many years. And I was a county legislator at the time, so I would wear a suit and my cleats, and the other parents called me Tom Landry. So we'll maybe break out the Tom Landry hat at some future event. Madam Secretary, Mr. President, I'm just so honored to be here with all of you, residents of Newcastle, Madam Supervisor, honorable trustees, Your Honor, Mr. County Legislator. This is a wonderful, wonderful occasion. You know, as we heard alluded to earlier, but this is a uniquely American tradition that all over the state of New York this month are ceremonies like this, where, as you alluded to, there's a spirited election, community has a conversation about which direction they're going in, and then the day after, we come together in unity. And that's the important thing. And I want the people who are watching at home to understand that we are all unified in purpose. You know, your success, we are all vested in your success. And I want you to know, Madam Supervisor, and all of you, you have my full support. Whatever you need, I look forward to collaborating with you. We are in a tough, tough time right now, and that's why we're all working together so diligently. But as County Legislator Gashi said, you know, we still need to think about the bigger picture as well. So I look forward to working with you and collaborating with you as we go forward. Congratulations. Really, really a remarkable evening. You know, one of the things that the rabbi said was about humility. And I am humble enough to know that when I'm about to introduce the President of the United States, nobody wants to hear from the state senator. But since I am on the program, I did want to speak a few things about what the President and the Secretary have done for unity, because that is our theme tonight, is unity. And President Clinton spent his lifetime and continues to bring us together. If he could end hundreds of years of war and enmity in Ireland, we can come together. If he could create creative engagement with China, surely we can come together. If he could bring a nation together with you, Madam Secretary, after the horrors of Columbine, we can come together here in Newcastle. And if he could cut deals with Newt Gingrich, surely we can come together here in Newcastle. So it is my high honor to introduce to all of you the 42nd President of the United States and your neighbor, William Jefferson Clinton.
Senator, you have no idea. I am so grateful to you for those remarks and for your service. To George Latimer, thank you so much for what you do. And Jeremy, thank you. To all those who have been previously sworn in, I congratulate you, and Rabbi, thank you for your wonderful remarks and your caution for humility. In my tradition, in the Christian tradition, I always tell people the most important political verses in the Bible in the New Testament are normally read at weddings. And they're beautiful, but it's wrong. It's in the St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians, he describes what love is. And it's all good for a wedding. But the last two verses compare life today with life in paradise with God, and said, never forget, now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now we know in part, then we will know even as we are known. And now abideth faith, hope, and love, agape, love of your fellow human beings. But the greatest of these are love. Why? Because we see through a glass darkly. Nobody today can run for office acting like they see through a glass darkly, that they don't have all the office, if they're running for a big office. And it's a mistake. What our citizens said here today, and what those who have come before me and those who will come after will say, makes all the difference. I was honored to help Kosovo preserve its existence and to become a nation. But it was a tough deal, and a lot of people lost their lives. Not as many as had been killed before, or would have certainly been killed after. I went back in 2019 with Madeleine Albright, and Hillary and I were supposed to go, and we went to that statue you mentioned. The only other one to me in a foreign country, I think, is in Ireland. But it's really big. And I was there with the Prime Minister of the country and the President, and they said, you know, this is not a very good statue. And we're going to put up another one. I said, well, how will it be different? It's lovely. He said, it'll be 4 feet taller. So I say that because I have 2 Kosovar Albanian families living on my little cul-de-sac in Chappaqua. And one of them sadly lost a son whose sister still has a store in Pristina. And 700 Albanians just from our neighborhood came to the funeral home for the family's observance. And why do I say that? Because I think one secret to our unity is not to be anti-immigrant. Hillary and I went on a honeymoon to Haiti and fell in love with it in 1975. That tells you how long we've been married. I don't know how she put up with it. But that benighted country has the most wonderful people you would ever want to meet. It has been crippled and abused because first it was colonized by different countries, all of whom exploited it, when it was the richest place in the Caribbean. And then, like abused children often do, the governments of Haiti learned the wrong lessons, and they began to abuse their own people. And the country has never become what it could, solely because of bad government. And I say that, and I was thinking, I wanted to say hallelujah when Justice Sorkin said what he did about applying the law equally to everybody, no matter who they were. I once had a big argument with a guy who was one of my strongest opponents, and he said, you actually think we should live under the same rules, don't you? I said, yeah, I thought that's what being American was all about. And I still do. So I'm glad there are so many Haitians in America. They've done remarkably well. of Haitians of African descent, 2%, less than 2% of our African American population is Haitian. 11% of our African American doctors are. That's just one example. And Westchester has grown so much. We have so many, in our little town, Chinese immigrants who come here, Chinese Americans, because they love our schools. And some of them commute back and forth to work in New York and don't have a lot of money and live in a little apartment area where Hillary and I walk all the time. But they love their children, and they love the fact that they can bring them here and they can get a good education. I'll never forget my most memorable encounter in the Chappaqua Library was with a 6-year-old young Chinese American boy. And he came running up to me, this was 10 years ago. And he said, how old are you? This boy did. I said, I'm 65. He said, are you going to die soon? I thought his mother would collapse. And I said, oh, please don't be embarrassed for him. I said, that's what the wonderful thing of childhood. They ask honest questions and expect honest answers and learn to live with the world. Yes? Well, I hope he does well. Tell him I'm still kicking. Anyway, the point of all this is I saw it working here in our local election. I don't know if I ever told Lisa this, but I am the only governor of Arkansas ever to be elected, defeated, and elected again. It's a rare thing. Because you can't tell the voters they made a mistake, they hired you, right? You can't tell them they didn't know what they were doing. On the other hand, if you tell them they did things too right, then they wonder if they should take another chance. And you threaded the needle by running on issues. And that's the last point I want to make. The best politics are when the political process is given over to the people. I've won those and lost them, as I did in many years in Congress and with the state legislature. But if the election can be made about the people, instead of about what terrible people in politics are, you're much more likely to get a good result, a happier country, a more united country. Unfortunately, in the world we live in, the further you get away from a place like Newcastle, the more people there are, the more layers there are between public servants and the voters, the easier it is to turn three-dimensional people into two-dimensional cartoons. And that's a terrible mistake. I am no longer a young man, but I can tell you that I have discovered almost without fail that if you scratch anybody hard enough, there's still a person in there somewhere. And we should spend more time thinking about how to treat each other that way. So this is really a celebration of democracy. We had these very hard-fought races here, but they were about something that affects our lives. And people could make a choice. This is the way democracy is supposed to work. And the way, God willing, it will survive to work again in our country. And Hillary and I have now lived in Chappaqua longer than any other place. 2.5 times as long as we lived in the White House. Twice as long as we lived almost in the governor's mansion. And we love it. We love every Memorial Day service. We love doing business with people we know. We love knowing our neighbors. We just lost my next door neighbor, Dr. Tony Sanfilippo, and I think I should mention him because he's one of the finest human beings I ever knew. And you mentioned Willie Mays. We went to Tony's funeral in Valhalla, and it was on the grounds of that vast cemetery there where Babe Ruth is buried. And I went, after the funeral, Hillary and I went and visited Babe Ruth's grave. And there is a letter from a 9-year-old child there telling Babe Ruth that he has lost his father. And his father was a great fan of the Yankees, but more of the old New York Giants. But he hopes, when it was a baseball team, but he hopes that now that they're in heaven, they can have lots of interesting talks and resolve all their differences. America's a rich, diverse, wonderful place that placed a big bet on the fact that freedom was better than authoritarianism. And that of all the differences we have, we still share 99.5% of the same genomic makeup, and that our common humanity is more important. And that diverse groups make better decisions than lone geniuses or like-minded people. They make better decisions. I feel that this has been validated over and over again while we've been living here. And I'm very grateful. Hillary's very grateful. We love it here. And I confess, when we moved here, I said, Hillary, I spent my life in Arkansas. I was born in a place with 6,000 people. My grandparents came from a place with 150 people. When I was first running for office in Arkansas, half the people lived in places of 5,000 or less, half of the whole population. I said, now, after living in the White House, you want me to move to a small town in Westchester County? It's the best decision she ever made. Usually when I take her advice, it works out pretty well. And I just can't thank you enough. So let's get you sworn in. But don't forget what you represent. America needs more of this, badly now. So I'd like to call up Christian George Hildenbrand. Would you raise your right hand, please? And repeat after me. I, Christian George Hildenbrand,
I, Christian George Hildenbrand,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York,
I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of council member of the town of Newcastle,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of town council member of the town of Newcastle,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Thank you. That's quite an act to follow, Lisa. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you especially to my family for being here. Sincere congratulations to Lisa, to Vicki, to Tara Castle, to Judge Sorkin, Legislator Gashi. Each of you has demonstrated a real and concrete commitment to public service, and for that we all owe you a debt of gratitude. A special thank you to President Clinton and Secretary Clinton for being here and presiding over this evening. Beyond being positively surreal, it is an honor beyond belief to have you here, so thank you. Our community is blessed in so many ways, but having you as neighbors the last 23 years has been close to the top of the list. When people find out you're from Chappaqua, I'm sure this happens to all of you, one of the first questions they ask is, what is it like to live in the town where the Clintons live? And the answer is simple. They're part of the fabric of our community. They've become town treasures. And I think we just witnessed that this evening, and certainly in President Clinton's remarks. I remember one evening, I think it was in early 2000, when I was a young lawyer working in the city, and I worked super late one evening, and I took a car service home. And when the driver pulled into my street, Prospect Drive, he said, do you know where the Clintons live? And I said, yeah, they're just about a half a mile up the road. Do you want to go see their house? Sorry about that, by the way. When we pulled into Old House Lane, he was positively nonplussed. He couldn't believe it. His jaw dropped. And he said, in Egypt, where he was from, you can't get within a mile of President Mubarak's palace. What a great country you have. And that little moment for me just symbolized something just truly awesome and enduring. Among other things, the recognition that in the United States, as President Clinton just said, we are all equal, and none of us is untouchable or unreachable, and that's a beautiful thing. The second thing that it showed me was that the most powerful family in the world ultimately had the same desires as the rest of us, to live in a beautiful community, natural beauty, surrounded by neighbors who care about each other and feel a strong commitment to their town and are committed to making it a great place to live. Kath and I have lived here slightly longer than you, Mr. President and Madam Secretary. We moved in August of 1998, just as our oldest son Benjamin was born. The name Chappaqua is derived from an Algonquin Wappinger word, Sheppaqua, which means a place where nothing is heard but the rustling of wind through the leaves. And wow, have we found that to be true. Over the years, Kathy and I, along with Benjamin, Andrew, Eliza, and our dogs, have spent parts of almost every day in Whippoorwill Park, the Glacier Arboretum, and other parks and preserves in town. But the other aspect of living here that is so palpable each day is what President Clinton cited in his 75th birthday video: how much people care about each other, how much they care about their neighbors in need, how much they want the future to be better than the present, and how much they work together to make it happen. And you see evidence of this every day in Newcastle. As waves of young families move in, seemingly mostly from Brooklyn these days, the farmers market, at Community Day, at the Ragamuffin Parade, at the Memorial Day Parade, at the Historical Society train show, which just finished, which was spectacular, and at the amazing Children's Book Festival. You see it in the incredible generosity of so many of our friends and neighbors who support the Horace Greeley Scholarship Fund, the Chappaqua School Foundation, 914 Cares, Neighbors Link, and so many other wonderful organizations that do great work for the community. And you see it in the unending efforts of so many passionate, dedicated, and generous residents who serve on the town boards and committees. At a recent meeting, Jill Shapiro, our amazing town administrator, walked us through the status of those committees. We have over 20 in town, and they're staffed by over 120 current members of the town of Newcastle, from the Committee on Race and Equity, to the Recreation Commission, to the Millwood West End Advisory Board. These are all volunteers, all dedicating precious time to their town, their neighbors, and others in need beyond our community. As Secretary Clinton said famously, it takes a village, and we are blessed to have so many dedicated and passionate neighbors, people who just want the future to be better than the present, and who are working together to make it happen. In closing, I'm reminded of a seminal Supreme Court case, Dartmouth College v. Woodward. I can see my wife's eyes rolling because it somehow always comes back to my alma mater. But in defending the college against an effort to dissolve its charter issued by the King of England and to establish Dartmouth as a public institution in New Hampshire, the great orator and future statesman Daniel Webster famously said, "It is a small college, and yet there are those who love it." Well, for the past 23 years, not a day has gone by where I have not felt the same way about Newcastle. It is a small town, but there are those who love it. And I look forward to serving all of you to the best of my ability. Thank you.
So, President Clinton, because out of an abundance of caution.
Thank you. So, Tara, are you with us? There you are.
am.
Will you raise your hand and repeat after me? I, Tara M. Castle,
I, Tara M. Castle,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of council member of the town of Newcastle
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of council member of the town of Newcastle
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Good evening to the people of Newcastle and distinguished members of our local, county, and state government. Thank you for being here. I so wish I could be with you this evening. I'm so honored to have been sworn in to serve the people of Newcastle. President Clinton, Secretary Clinton, thank you so much for presiding over the event this evening. Your legacy of public service is an inspiration to so many, including myself, and I'm deeply honored to have been elected to this 4-year position on the town board in the community we share. To all my fellow community members, I'm excited to work together to imagine our future and share my experience in sustainable development on behalf of this community we all love, with great emphasis on the word together. Thank you to all of you, and in particular to my family, my husband Mark and children Gabrielle and Laird, who have supported me in so much. For all of Newcastle, I want to assure you I recognize and appreciate the privilege to serve in public office. I'm committed to listening, supporting, and leading collaboratively with my fellow town board members as we create an enduring vision for our collective home, fostering a welcoming and resilient community and improving quality of life for all. Thank you again. I so look forward to serving our town and collaborating with each of you.
You're up. I, Lisa Marlowe Spivak Katz,
Lisa Marlowe Spivak Katz,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of supervisor of the town of Newcastle,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of supervisor of the town of Newcastle
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Thank you. I'm kind of verklempt. Thank you. Good evening once again. Tonight, as Secretary Clinton pointed out, on the stage of this wonderful Chappaqua Performing Arts Center, a building that we saved and which we will all continue to develop into a regional arts and culture destination, which is near and dear to my heart. I want to thank the residents of Newcastle for electing me as your town supervisor. It is truly an honor and a privilege, and I thank you for putting your faith in my leadership. 8 years ago, you asked me to represent our town, and since then, I've listened to residents in our community and have done my very best to work with my fellow town board members in an open, positive, and engaging manner. While the experience that I have gained during all those years of service on the town board certainly prepared me to be your town supervisor, what has really prepared me the most, and it's been said here many times tonight, is simply the love that I have for our town. And I know that I am not alone in the love for our community. We've heard it from everyone here tonight, and that's what really brings us all here. Maya Angelou once said that love is that condition in the human spirit so profound that it empowers us to develop courage, to trust that courage and build bridges with it, to trust those bridges and cross over so we can attempt to reach each other. I am here tonight to build those bridges, and I ask each of you to join me in this effort. Let's start by reconnecting with one another over coffee, over a cocktail, over a walk, or over a Zoom call. Perhaps a little bit less over Facebook. And for those people you haven't yet met, give them a chance in person. as the pandemic permits. As President Clinton said, you scratch and we are all people and we are all here for each other. And I promise you that it will enrich your time in our town and make our community stronger. As supervisor, we have a lot to do, and I'm looking forward to partnering with our elected officials, among them Senator Harcum, Assemblyman Burdick, County Executive Latimer, and County Legislator Gashi, as well as my fellow town board members, to ensure that the best interests of Newcastle and our residents are championed. That is the role of local government, and I take that duty of loyalty to our town very seriously. I'm looking forward to collaborating with all of our residents, our merchants, our Board of Education, and every single key constituency in our town. Now, it is not lost on me that I have been elected to represent President Clinton and Secretary Clinton in their hometown. Thank you again for being here tonight and for always making time for your community in ways large and small. Our entire town appreciates you more than you can possibly know. I'm also incredibly fortunate to have a wonderful family to stand with me here tonight. My husband, Stephen, my mother, Gloria, my daughter, Arden, and my son, Spencer. Thank you for taking this journey with me, and thank you for your unwavering love, patience, and support. Arden and Spencer, I see the future in your eyes, and if I can have even a small part in making this world a better place for you, then my heart is filled with joy, and I have done all that I set out to accomplish. To everyone who helped with our campaign, Democrats, Republicans, and unaffiliateds alike, thank you for your courage and for realizing that what is best for Newcastle is coming together and transcending party politics. I know it was not always easy, and I cannot thank you enough for your extraordinary energy, inspiration, and belief in our shared vision of unity and collaboration. And to Tara, Chris, and Vicki, you are truly the dream team. I know that your lives were plenty full before this election and that none of you had political aspirations. Thank you for answering the call and for standing up for our town. We are lucky to have you. And to my fellow residents who came out to the polls and supported our vision for the town, one grounded in mutual respect and inclusivity and bound by our collective dreams to make Newcastle a stronger, more vibrant, and united community, not just for today, but for the future. Thank you for your vote and for your trust in me and all of us. I promise that I will do my very best to make you proud. But make no mistake, I and every other member on the town board intend to represent every resident of Newcastle, whether you voted for us or not, because we are one Newcastle. And in our Newcastle, we smile and treat each other with generosity, compassion, and respect. We honor our diversity and care for one another, even when we disagree. After everything that we have suffered in this pandemic, we need each other now more than ever. The election is over. No matter who you voted for, let's strive for that unity, and let's face our most pressing issues together, for that is Newcastle at its best. Thank you. And now, once again, to close out this evening, I would like to welcome Barbara Howe, who will close out our program with God Bless America.